What's going on, fam? All right, so we are getting started with a second Candidate Connect event tonight where we're going to get you guys plugged in with some candidates that are running here in Southern California. And by we, I mean myself and Britt Mayer from Rooted Wings. Uh-oh. Let's put these in. Maybe this will help. Can you hear me better now? Let's go. All right, so Britt's going to jump on here in a second. But until she does, let's break down a little bit of what the goal is with these lives. Why are we going live? What is the value of a live with the candidate? And the objective is we believe that as citizens, we've got to roll. We've got to jump into the realization that if we are stagnant, if we don't care about politics, then politics will take advantage of us. It happens more often than it should, and we're getting engaged, and we're helping you guys get engaged as well. So I'm going to bring Britt on. And as she comes on, the objective of this, did it work? Accept. All right, so the objective of this meeting too is we want to kind of make them short so they're a little bit digestible. What's up, Britt?
Hey,
How goes it?
how are you? Haven't seen you in forever.
I know, it's been long time.
Oh,
Let's
I'm
go.
so excited about this. I'm like pumped up. I'm excited.
Yes. So I haven't talked about who the candidate is yet. Did I?
All
I
right.
don't think I did. I was just kind of giving a little bit of summary of as to why we're doing these candidate connects, get people engaged, help people understand we have a role in a republic. This is
Yes.
not a democracy. This is a republic. Free people need to be moral and righteous to be able to uphold government. We have a role and a duty to do so.
We
You want
sure
to jump in?
do. Have you talked about what the mission of Freedom? Well, I think it's important people know that we are
Yeah,
doing this as Freedom Revival. That this
totally.
isn't Sean Frederickson or Rooted Wings. This is as a
Right.
part of what Freedom Revival is. Have you told the people what
Let's
we are doing with Freedom Revival?
let's dive into it. Go ahead. Unless
Yeah.
you go ahead.
Yes. So Freedom Revival, we are creating something very different where someone was saying we're making politics relevant again because they
Exactly.
have in large part become irrelevant and frustrating. So we're stepping in and we're saying, no, there is value in knowing what's going on, especially as Christians. And for a long time, Christians have been told to just go step into your prayer room, go to church, do those things. But goodness, like get out of politics and culture. Okay. Where we're saying actually that was an untruth that we bought into. It was a lie that we believed, and it's cost us dearly for hundreds now of years in the States, especially in California. And so Freedom Revival is stepping in and saying we're actually going to step back in and redefine the boundary lines of culture, church, and politics. And we are going to not only make politics relevant again, but we are going to make the church being engaged in politics as the conscience of the state important and relevant again. So that is what Freedom Revival is in a nutshell. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Oh, that's beautiful. I think you really painted that picture quite well. And I think let's cast some vision because what is the significance of what we're doing? Is it possible that anything changes with such a concept of engaging the church with politics again? And we believe that it will. We believe that it's possible to change the landscape of Southern California as there are so many conservatives in Southern California, just like Oregon and Washington are dense with conservatives, yet these major cities or these small regions in these states are controlling the political atmosphere. We believe that we have the ability here in Southern California to really, I would say, inject Christianity back into civics like it once was back in the foundation of this nation.
Yeah, and I think that case in point is what we just saw pass in the Judiciary Committee of the Assembly today in California. It's a horrific bill that I was talking to my husband about. It's like, I can't believe we've gotten so far to not only be talking anymore about like, does life begin at conception? We're so far past that now that we're tangled up in these complex ideas of, well, what is perinatal? Does that mean it's 1 week after birth? Does that mean 2 weeks? Does it mean a month? When can you kill a kid and it's considered justifiable? It's like, oh my gosh, you know why we're here is because when we were there, we didn't step in and say, this is a problem. And the church instead, in large part, backed out. And that's representative of, we have a minuscule amount of Christians who are actually registered to vote and voting.
Yes.
And so that's the problem that we have found ourselves in. So how do we find our way back to where we began as a nation? And this nation was birthed from the pulpit, honestly, and it's a lie for this new wave of historical teaching to say that Christians weren't involved in the founding of this country. This country was built by Christian men and women, and in large part by the pulpit. And as soon as the pulpit got silent, we started this cascade into the mess that we are in now, where we can have legislation passing that will codify in law killing children, and it's because Christians have backed out. So we're saying we actually can see something change if Christians step back in, and that's what we're doing.
Come on. What's up, Corbin?
Good. Hey, Corbin.
You just popped in there, man. Right in the middle of there. Jeez, my bad. Just threw you in the fire.
Yeah.
So, well, just to finish up on what Britt said, is we truly believe that if we can comprehend what history is, reading the founding documents like the Federalist Papers, Thomas Paine, the Law by Frederick Bastiat. There's so many great authors that are discussing what a republic is, rather than depending on these ignorant or corrupt politicians to tell us what government is and how we are supposed to abide within the lines that they create for us, because that was not the intention of this nation, of this republic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's time. So we're excited to be kind of at the forefront of, in San Diego County, bringing these candidates into the spotlight. And I consider it a huge honor to know Corbin and to know you, Corbin, before you decided to run, and now be right alongside you as you are vying for candidacy, or you are a candidate. So as you're vying for a seat, why don't we get right into it, Corbin? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you're running for?
Yeah, so hello, everybody. My name is Corbin Sabol. I'm a prior Naval Officer. I work as a federal contractor now. I've been engaged in citizen activism, standing up for freedom, for about a year now. And now I'm running for a state assembly, 79th district, and my opponent is Akila Weber. I'm sure many people here have heard her name before, and I'm sure we'll talk about her in a little bit.
Yeah, well, real quick, let's break down, what is Assembly District 79?
Yeah, sure. So if you just picture San Diego County in your head, you can start the most northern border is like the southern part of El Cajon. The northern part of El Cajon is Assembly District 70. It's another Assembly District 78, I think. Mm-hmm. So you start at the southern part of El Cajon, and then you work your way down to La Mesa, Lemon Grove, all the way down to Spring Valley. And then you can shoot that border all the way west to the 805, and that's kind of where it ends. You got Mount Hope in the southwest, and then you got City High south northwest.
Okay, so it's a pretty significant region.
Yes.
This district is, and then what's the value of an assembly member? I think that there's so many terms within the political atmosphere that I think many of us haven't comprehended up until COVID. Now we're trying to figure it all out. So what exactly is the significance of an assembly member?
Yeah, good question. It's basically, and I'm learning myself as well. This is all not relatively new information, but I was doing some door knocking yesterday, and somebody I was talking to had absolutely no idea how the system works. And it's like, what's an assembly member? What's a state senator? It's like, is that the same thing as the federal government? But basically just think of it as we're pretty much everybody's familiar with the House of Representatives and Senate on a federal level. So think of that, the same concept, but on a state level, So the state assembly and the state senators, they write the bills, and then the governor passes it or vetoes it on the executive branch as the governor of the state. And that affects the entire state, just even if you don't live in the 79th district, the bills that they're passing affect you, and how they're voting affect you. I mean, Akila Weber, my opponent, she voted against the suspension of the gas tax twice. Mm-hmm. And I think most people would have been in favor of a little bit of savings at the pump, 51 cents per gallon of gas. That adds up over. But she voted against that twice, and we can get into my theory on why I think we all know why she voted against it.
No, go ahead and tell us. Let's assume most people don't know.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I think to start with that would probably be wise. And so let us know, who is Akila Weber? What's her perspective on the gas tax? Why do you say with confidence that you know why she knows that you wouldn't vote for it?
I can say that with confidence because I watched when she ran for so last year the seat was up for a special election. Her mom, Shirley Weber, had the seat before, and now she's Secretary of State. So the seat was up at a special election last year. She ran against Marco Contreras and 3 other contenders. She won, obviously. But I was watching Voice of San Diego debate. It happened last year, and it's very, very clear that she has a mindset of centralization.
Okay.
Very centralization mindset, which.
And what is that? What is the significance of centralization? Break that down.
Basically, the decisions or the policies or pretty much anything comes from a centralized place of authority.
Okay.
So
Why would that be bad?
That can be bad because too few people have too much power. It's too few people are making too many decisions. It's scary to me how 535 people in our federal government can vote away trillions of our dollars. It's absolutely insane to me. Mind-blowing how much power they've taken from us, we the people, and we have to take that power back. So I have an opposite mindset of centralization. I have a decentralization mindset, and my mindset when I'm elected to state assembly is to push the decision factor to the most local level as possible, starting with the individual. If the individual can't make the decision for themselves or figure out the problem, then the local government gets involved on the city level. If the city level can't fix it, then the county gets involved, and so on and so forth. Then it goes to the state and federal government. So I think what a lot of politicians do and say on the campaign trail, they say a lot of things that don't even apply to their position if they get elected. So I'm going to go in there with a mindset of decentralization. We need to empower the people by driving the decision factor back to the people. Being empowered starts with making the decision for yourself.
You mentioned the gas tax as an example. I know that she was also an author of, I believe it was AB 1993. Is that correct?
Correct.
And for people who might not know, this was a damning piece of legislation that it caught wind. People got really unhappy that it was even written and trying to be pushed through. And Akilah actually tried to take her name off as an author because it was so profoundly wicked. And you oppose it entirely. Can you tell people more about what this legislation would have done and your position regarding it?
Yeah, sure. So a little bit more information on that. So going back to that Voice of San Diego debate from last year, her initial stance, Akilah Weber, was that she was opposed to the mandates. Okay, sure. So she was asked that question last year when she was running for the special election on her position for the mandates. And she said, no, I'm not in favor of the mandates. I would not mandate the COVID vaccine. And then lo and behold, she co-authors AB 1993. To answer your question, that would have mandated the COVID vaccine for employers here in the state of California and independent contractors. So basically, tax mandates for state of California. And then was there a third question there? Or
so I want to know your position on that. What are your thoughts on medical mandates here in San Diego and in California?
Yeah, it's too easy. We have a right to privacy, and that means we have a right to privacy from our government. And that's anybody with their name attached to AB 1993 have violated their oath to the Constitution, plain and simple, and they need to resign.
So it seems like it's a pretty high and heavy hill to climb in the assembly in California. So even if you are, pro medical freedom and you are against just almost this monopolization of politics and medicine on the people, how are you going to fight it out? How are you going to be a lion in the seat and fight for people who love freedom and love liberty?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. You brought up a good point. When I get elected, there will be very few like-minded people such as myself. There is a supermajority in California, so we really need to work hard to flip that and get more like-minded people like us and Josiah in office on a state level. But what I would do, so let's just say I'm elected and AB 1993 still passes. Well, I can still work with the people in my district that I represent and let them know to, you don't have to comply to this, this is unconstitutional. This is a violation of your right to privacy. I would work with as many people as I can and give them the resources that they need and the
Mm-hmm.
education that they need to understand they don't have to comply with an unconstitutional order.
Mm-hmm.
So how long has your opponent, Akila Weber, been in office? You mentioned something about a special election. Why was there a special election? And then who exactly is her mom? You'd mentioned her briefly.
Yeah, so I think in 2018, she was on the La Mesa City Council. To my knowledge, I'm not sure if she was elected prior to that, but I think 2018 came to mind. And then in 2021, her mom, Shirley Weber, resigned from the seat that I'm running for so she could fill the Secretary of State. So Shirley Weber is now the Secretary of State, was the representative for Assembly District 79 last year, resigned to take the Secretary of State position. And then her daughter, Akila Weber, ran and won.
Got it. Yeah, that's great. So out of curiosity, when you're looking at assembly, this district, what exactly is your strategy to take on someone like Akila Weber who has funding from her mom? I'm assuming, how do you compete against that?
Yeah, not only does she have funding, but she has name recognition. So it's going to be a huge, steep uphill battle for me. But the way to combat that is I'm going to need a fleet of volunteers and assistants to get my name out there and to connect with the voters and let people know that, hey, maybe like the policies that these people are putting in place are hurting you. They're hurting your wallet at the gas pump. They're infringing on your rights. And I like to use the word power. Okay, so
Totally.
our rights give us power. So when our government infringes on our rights, they're taking our power. So the left, and I hate labels, the only label I'll put on myself is American, but if we want to use labels for a second, the left, they like to use the word power a lot. So I'll use the word power and say they're taking your power by infringing on your inalienable rights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
John.
I'm curious.
Well, mine's a jumping off point. So go ahead. Go.
Get in there, girl.
No, but mine's going to jump off.
Stoked.
Was yours a question on this one? Because I'm looking at the district, and I have a question about border issues.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so obviously your district is going to be very concerned with border issues, just because by nature of the carve out, right? What are your thoughts on the border as it is now, and anything like? Do you have any ideas about border reform, human trafficking, drug issues? What are your thoughts on just the border issues here in California, specifically with District 79?
That's a really good question. So border, meaning the southern border?
Yeah.
The U.S.-Mexico border? Okay, so I guess the first thing that came to my mind is the federal government's not doing its job to secure our borders and protect us from all these drug traffickers and murderers. Obviously, yes, for the record, there are good people that come over here, but there are also bad people. So the federal government is not doing its job. In fact, I think I saw something that Biden is going to reopen the border or something like that. Is that true? Did I see something like that?
Yeah, it has to do with all the COVID restrictions and lifting those.
Yes. So the doctrine of lesser magistrates applies. So if the federal government isn't doing their job in securing,
let's go.
Come on.
You got me. Yes, go.
Got me at hello.
Yeah. Then if the federal government's not doing its job, then that means it falls to the states. And if the state's not doing its job, then it would fall down to the counties. If the county's not doing its job, it falls to the cities. And then, God, if the city's not doing its job, it falls to the people. So as the state assembly member, I'll just work with yes, I would ensure that the state of California can do whatever it can in its power to secure our border, even if that's working with our sheriff on a county level to do what's necessary to secure our border, because obviously San Diego is on the border of Mexico. So the sheriff in our county, if they understand their true power and what their true calling is as a sheriff, they can do a lot to secure our borders as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's good. It's
I guess.
important.
I'm looking at I can't get off this Akila Weber thing. I have Mike Levin as well in my head. I'm Nathan Fletcher in the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. There are so many of these, congressional candidates I'm thinking about too, that are just so owned by the system. Mm-hmm. How do you get yourself to a position where you're not owned by the system?
How do you get yourself to where you're not owned by the
Correct.
system?
Yeah.
Where you can't be bought, where you are for the people and you're not for the system.
Yeah. I guess that comes to not accepting special money from special interest groups and corporations. At the end of the day, corporations and special interest groups, they donate to a politician and expect a favor in return. So my mindset when I'm elected is to not accept money from any special interest groups unless it's a special interest group to uphold the Constitution or something like that, or to defend our inalienable rights or, something like that. But if there's a special interest group that, I don't know, pick one that is just wanting to donate to my campaign, I'll probably turn down that donation because I'm just going to make the assumption that, hey, there's strings attached to that donation, But that's how we would not be beholden to the special interest groups and the corporations and just always remain beholden to the people as we're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's important. We are that's the way we were created to be, and we've gone way off track. One of the issues that I see is that we have become obsessed with growing government at the expense of the people. So I know we touched on it, but how do you plan? Like, what are your tangible plans to go in to restore the power of the people versus growth of government?
Well, it all goes back to the decision factor, when the government makes the decisions, the government's in power. When the people make the decisions, the people are in power. So it starts with the mindset of driving the decision factor back to the people as often as possible. And the growth of government, there's a lot of people out there that see that or don't understand the corruption and the waste, fraud, and abuse. So I would love to figure out how to audit the government on state of California level. That would be something that I would love to do so I can expose the waste, fraud, and abuse of our money, our taxpayer dollars, to the people. And unfortunately, a lot of people, we don't see taxes as something that we're paying. It's automatically deducted from our paycheck. So that it's kind of like disconnected from it. Even if they're wasting our money, like, why should I care? Well, I mean, you should. It's your money, I mean, what could you do? Extra few $100 a month or something like that if our government was more fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
Well, just so these viewers can understand, tell us a little bit about your background, Corbin. What compelled you to run for assembly? What were you doing before? And then what do you know about the governmental process?
Yeah, sure. So let's see. I would say, well, let me just say some things that I like to tell a lot of people who might be disengaged or looking to find ways to get involved is the first step is to start caring. Okay, you got to start caring. And that's the very first step. And it doesn't take any effort, doesn't take any energy to start caring. It's really just a decision. So about, I don't know how long ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago or so, I made a decision to start caring. And because I love our country and love everything that she has to offer. And I made a decision that I was going to stop doing nothing and start doing something.
Yeah.
So I started getting involved, started going to the rallies, board of supervisor meetings, rallies, We the People Coalition, as you all know. And that's basically an effort to get us all organized as a grassroots group. And then I got a email from the San Diego County Republican Party that says, fill out this form if you're interested to run for office. And I was like, hey, I guess I can at least fill out the form. So I filled out
That's awesome.
Yeah, I filled out the form and it was like, okay, nothing's ever going to happen. I'm just a nobody, right? I mean, I've only been in this fight for just, a year now. So next thing I know, I'm getting calls from Will from the office, the GOP office here in the county. And he's like, are you interested in running for office? And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what, are you serious? Why are you asking me? It's like, this is a joke, right? This is a joke. And then he keeps calling and calling and calling. And the next thing I know, I'm filing to run for a state assembly.
Wow.
How are you feeling? Are you excited? Or are you how are you feeling about it?
I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited to be fully committed to this race. At very first, when I filed,
you sound very excited. I'm very excited.
Yeah. I'm very happy that I made the decision to run for office because it's necessary. I feel at first I was like, okay, this isn't going to go anywhere. I'm just filing to get to make sure the seat doesn't run unopposed, things like that. But then shortly after I filed, it was like, wait a second. I got to do this.
Yeah. I want to keep you right there. You just said that, you're excited because this is necessary. Tease that out. Why is this necessary?
Why is this necessary? It's necessary for me to run for office, and it's necessary for anybody watching this to get involved and get active. It's necessary because, I'll just echo what Josiah said. If you don't care about politics, then you're surrendering. You're surrendering what happens to those who care. I think that's not his. But if you don't get involved, if you don't get engaged, if you don't run for office, if you don't support those who are running for office, if you don't get engaged in some capacity, you are giving up your power. And you're just going to let people who are caring and involved to dictate your life. And I don't want that for myself. I know you guys don't want that for yourself. I don't know, nobody watching this right now wants that for themselves. So we need to get ethical, honest, and moral people into office who will do what's right by the people.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at some tangible numbers here. It is April 5th, and we have an election coming up. What time frame do we have? There's a primary, there's a general. What's the difference between the primary and general? Why is it significant? How many candidates are on the ballot for the primary?
Yep. So for this seat, State Assembly 79th District, there are only 3 candidates, 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. The Democrat is the incumbent, Tequila Weber, and the 2 Republicans are myself and John Moore. So ballots are mailed in 36 days? And then following that was the primary, which is on June 7th. So the primary is when the Democratic Party and the Republican Party decides who they're going to send to the general election. Well, here in the state of California, it's like whoever gets the top 2 votes in the primary moves to the general.
Jungle primary, I think.
Jungle primary. I think in other states it's different, but I could be wrong. But here in the state of California, it's the top 2 votes in the primary advances to the general election. And then the general election is November, as it always is every 2 years. And then 2 people will be on the ballot per seat.
Okay, so just to summarize what you stated, there are 3 candidates up until the primary. The top 2 of those candidates at the primary will go to the general.
Yes.
And then that's where the decision will be made who is going to fill that seat for Assembly District 79. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so these next 20 days are so important for people to get to know you, to get to know your values, really to get to know your opponent, which would be the woman in the seat right now, Akila herself, and why we need to vote her the heck out and why we need to vote you in. Can you give us just maybe a couple bullet points of the differences between you and Akila to put in people's minds so that going into the next 30 days, they have that to share with people? Because the biggest thing is name recognition, and we need to get your name seared into the minds of people in your district and why they need to vote for you and not vote for Akila.
Yeah, so I'll circle back to what I said earlier. The biggest thing is her mindset of centralization. I think everything kind of stems from there, whether it be gas tax or vaccine mandates or anything like that. She has a centralized mindset, so that's why she believes in vaccine mandates. That's why she voted against the suspension of the gas tax. That's why she co-authored AB 2098, which would label the healthcare professional speech as unprofessional conduct if it goes against what government wants to say. That's a very centralized mindset. I'm the complete opposite. I have a decentralized mindset, so I oppose AB 1993. It's your decision if you want to get the vaccine. I oppose AB 2098. The government should not be labeling, the state of California should not be labeling our healthcare professional speech as unprofessional conduct. That just sets a very dangerous precedent. Going back to the gas tax, I would have voted in favor of suspending the gas tax. And the reason why she voted against the suspension of the gas tax is so the government can then just turn around and hand us essentially crumbs.
Well, it's redistribution of wealth is what it is. It's our tax money being redistributed in equity, which is something that she's very much for with her centralist mindset, which is bigger government and then more limitations and more expense on the citizens.
Let me go ahead and quickly share something for your viewers and on a note of redistribution. But think about the vaccine mandates. I'd like everybody to think of the vaccine mandates and what they're doing as money laundering with our money. Okay. The politicians can't use our tax dollars to fund their campaigns, but they can sell a product and get the big pharmaceutical companies to fund their campaigns. So that is a way to message. It's money laundering with our money is what they're doing.
That's so true. That's such a good point. And that's how you end up bought, right? Because then you're just doing favors, knowing that there's a roundabout way to get that money back.
Yes, exactly. And now
and that's why what you said is so important, that you're very aware of this. I think your mentality in the game is something that sets you apart too, is that you understand how corruption works. And you're not going in just kind of blindly and with optimism, but you're like, no, look, I get it. I get how roundabout money laundering works. I get centralization. I get growth of government. I know how all that works, and I know how they play, so that I can go in without any blind spots and fight for the people, because I'm aware of all of this. And I think that that really does set you apart, because that's an intelligence factor that is so needed in the seat that you're vying for in your district, is to be very well aware of the games that are being played and how you're going to break away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And first campaign, first time being elected politician. So there you go. As long as I don't accept any money on the campaign trail from any bad actors, then I'll hold intent.
One of my favorite things about you running, Corbin, is you've been alongside us for so long. You're trusted in the community. We know who you are. I feel like some of these questions, I'm like, yeah, I know this about you, but it's great because we get to present this to a wider audience who can understand you as well, get behind you, support you, share your name, especially if you're in your district. What can people do right now to get connected, whether they want to donate or volunteer? What can they do? How can they get connected with you?
Yeah, so start following me here on Instagram. On my bio is a campsite. I stole that from UBRID, the campsite, to get information out. Hey, that's a good idea. I'll do that.
So good. Love it.
So just connect with me on Instagram. Through there, you can find my website and all my information and learn more about me. And then, so that's the best way to get in touch with me. My email, my website, it's all right there. Email me anytime.
And for people who are because this will be posted on Spotify where people are going to just hear it. So what is your website and your Instagram handle?
Sure. My Instagram is at Corbin Sabol, CORBINSABOL, at Corbin Sabol. And then my website is corbinsabol.com.
And I want to just tell people that when you go to Corbin's website, there is a link that is at the top. It says About My Opponent. And I think it's so good because you put such good summaries of what she is about, and then why you oppose it, and what you would have done. And it's beautifully done. It's very easy to see. I love it because I feel like that alone gives me every reason why I want to support you and why I want to get her the heck out of her seat. So I would encourage people to go to corbinsabol.com and then click About My Opponent, and it'll take you 3 minutes to read through it. You have no excuse. If you're in his district, go read it. And then this is the kind of information that if you like Corbin, which I really hope you do, that you will take this and spread it like wild. Find 5 people to tell those 5 people to tell 5 people. That's how wildfires work. You start sparking it and then it's a wildfire. But we have a very limited amount of time to get the name Corbin Sabol in front of everyone in his district so that people know who he is and they know why he's different than Akila and why we need to get him in the seat and get her out. It's so important that we do our work and don't just think someone else is going to do it.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Especially, let me jump in real quick. This is a David and Goliath scenario. Really, Corbin, new to the game. You haven't really experienced the whole political back and forth and the legal stuff that goes in it, and you're learning on the fly. You're asking for advice. You're really just picking it up because you felt a responsibility to care. You felt a responsibility, a duty to get involved. And Akila Weber was raised in a politician's household. She has millions that are available through her mom's, who knows, fortunes. And for you to win this seat back would not only be a David and Goliath, but it would be killing, or it would be destroying the evil which this woman has been propagating through the assembly. The fact that she wrote 3 of these bills, 1993 and 2 others.
2098 and 1638.
Or not
1638 she voted on.
She voted on. This is huge. This would be monumental. This is why Freedom Revival and Candidate Connect, it's this reason right here. We believe that with Christians who are engaged in the system, that we can take out these massive behemoths that are just owned by pharma and big tech and fill the seats with quality candidates like Corbin.
Yes.
Yeah, and we do. I want to make that like really clear that we believe that. If we didn't believe that Corbin had a chance and that he legitimately can turn this ship around and be a part of that, then we wouldn't waste our time. I'd rather be having a drink in my backyard right now, honestly. So I think that people need to know that we are doing this as Freedom Revival. Corbin is stepping up and saying, hey, I'm going to run and I'm going to figure this out as I go, because we believe in our republic. We believe there's something worth fighting for, and we actually believe it can be restored. And that gets me to my final question for you, Corbin, and then Sean, if you want a final question, and then Corbin, we'll let you close us out. But one of the big things I hear when I'm talking to people on the street about go vote, find out your candidates, get their names, the candidates you like, get their names on the ears of everyone around you. It's like, well, why vote? It's all rigged. Like, what's that going to do? We know it's all mail-in. What do you say about, I have my response, but I want to hear your response as a candidate regarding that.
Well, I would say we're just giving up if we're not going to vote. You know, that's the least we can do. I mean, regardless of how rigged it might be with mail-in ballots and how well organized they are with ballot harvesting, don't use that as an excuse to not do your basic civic duty of voting and supporting a candidate who aligns with your values. Mm-hmm. That's the least you can do. And then with that being said, if it is rigged, which we kind of know it is, again, not rigged like with the ballot harvesting and the mail-in ballots, well, that means, hey, now it's time to match their energy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. We've got 37 days until ballots drop for the primary. I mean, if somebody wants to email me, I will every day after work. I'll go door knocking with you if I don't have something else going on. Like, somebody come join me and let's go door knocking. Let's do it. And you can go door knocking yourself. I'll give you some of my business cards. I'll give you some materials. Go to my website, corbinsabol.com, and sign up to volunteer. There's a volunteer page. Just let her sign up in the volunteer page as well. So I got that in 2 separate databases for those who are signing up to volunteer. Yeah. And then the last one would be the obvious ask is donations. You know, campaigns are surprisingly expensive. Just learning that, unfortunately.
Yeah, totally.
Cost thousands.
Can I jump in real quick? I think there's one thing that most people don't know about the expense of campaigns. Yeah. So when a campaign or when a ballot is received, you're going to see individuals will see on the ballot the name, and then there's a 200-word or less description of a candidate. For those that don't know, it's $16,000 to put that description of the candidate on the ballot. $16,000 just for those 200 words. Yeah. That's the cost of entry that San Diego County and maybe it's California has implemented kind of as a bar of entry.
Yeah, you're talking about the
like
the booklet
bio.
The bio.
Yep.
Yeah, the campaign statement.
Yeah, the campaign statement. Yeah, no, it's very pricey, and that price tag varies from seat to seat, actually. So I think that might be like the sheriff's price tag because
it's a percentage of what you make in that seat, which still ends up being insanely high. One thing I would say for anyone listening who is concerned about election integrity is there is the Election Integrity Project. And then also you can get involved with the I was an inspector at the polls because I was concerned, and I did help. Yeah, I held that for guys. When I was like 18, I was like, I'm going to inspect. So I did that for years. So I learned how it all worked. I was a part of like moving the boxes and making sure everything got to the location for pickup and overseeing all the poll workers. And I did that when I was 18 and then again when I was 20, and I kept doing it. I think that's when people say, well, why do I do it? Because like it's election. I'm like, well, then have you signed up to actually oversee it and make sure that there is integrity? Are you involved with the Election Integrity Project? What are you doing about it? Because if you're just complaining and then stepping out and having drinks and not getting involved, then shame on you. That's why we're here. So I think there are things that you can do. Know your candidates, get to know them. Find out if you can get involved with the Registrar of Voters, and then look into the Election Integrity Project. And then, gosh dang it, support good candidates. There's no reason and there's no justifiable excuse to use that as a reason for sitting this out. There's too much at stake. And Corbin has the qualities that we need for someone who is going to take out the tyrants and replace that seat well. So that's what I would have to say about that.
Beautifully said. All right. Well, I think, do you have any more questions you'd like to ask there, Britt?
No, I want you to ask a final question, and then we'll leave Corbin to give us the final shout out.
Perfect. Corbin, I just want to say, I look at you as being a perfect example of what we citizens should be doing. We recognize a problem, we get educated, we just jump in. We don't have to know everything. We'll learn stuff along the way. I mean, all of us, we're here, we're all asking questions. When we don't know something, we read a book, we ask somebody that knows something a little further down the journey than us. But what we're not going to do is sit around and make excuses and pretend like it doesn't matter, because it does. We've got kids on the line and we've got to do something. So into that, I just want to say thank you so much for being on. The final question for you, Corbin, is can you let us know why people should vote for you?
Well, in the general election?
The primary. This one right here. Yeah, why
June 7th,
when
they get that mail-in ballot and it has a few names on there and they see Corbin Sabol, why are they voting for Corbin?
Yeah, so on the primary election, registered Republicans will see my name and another Republican by the name of John Moore. I've met him once, spoke briefly, so I don't want to say anything incorrect, especially behind his back. But, I'm a fighter. I'm going to go in there and work my butt off. I don't care if it's 80-hour work week or anything like that. I mean, this will be a duty, my duty to do what I need to do to undo the corruption and the crimes against humanity that these people have been doing to us for generations. This is a beautiful, beautiful country. America has a lot to offer, and Josiah spoke about it a lot. Socialism is here. If we don't turn our ship around now, then I fear that we might lose her forever. And if we don't turn it around now, then we're going to lose her. So everybody needs to get involved. Please vote for me. Please donate to me.
You're getting used to saying that. It's starting to roll off pretty good.
And I'm getting more comfortable as well, because at least I'm not asking myself so I can buy a cheeseburger or something like that. The money. Respect, just a $10 donation. Your $10 is going to help me reach easily 100 voters. Okay. So a $20 donation, just think of that as me reaching 200 people. A $100 donation, that's easily 1,000 people that I can reach with marketing material and print. So there's costs to run a campaign. My treasurer costs money. The money that we talked about for the the mailers and everything like that. Probably I already put $1,000 into this campaign myself from my own pocket. So hopefully stop at that number.
Sure.
Everybody can help donate. That'd be awesome. But it's very, very expensive to run a campaign, and all candidates need support and volunteer support as well. So go to my website, please, at corbinsabol.com and donate and volunteer. I would greatly appreciate it.
I want to throw an encouragement out for people who are in your district, who are watching now, who will watch, who are listening. Get involved right now. There are ways that you can find your church, find the local Kiwanis or your Rotary or a mom's play group, anywhere that you as a citizen are your sphere of influence. What your sphere of influence is, leverage that sphere for Corbin if you like him, and call Corbin up, get involved with him to where you can say, hey, could you come out and speak at my church? Could you come speak at my Rotary? Could you come speak at my knitting club? Wherever it is that you can gather people together and say, we're going to have an assembly and we would like you to speak. That is a powerful way to start getting him in front of, and it's grassroots. That's the beauty of this. That's how this used to work. Before we had big money and we had social media and we had lifetime politicians with no term limits. This is how it worked, right? We've always not had term limits, which is another issue. But the concept was how we can start from the grassroots and build up. So if you like Corbin, then find your sphere of influence and leverage that for him. And I doubt that Corbin is going to say no if you say, hey, I have a church group on Wednesday night. We'd love to have you come out and speak to us. Those are practical ways. Also, this recording, send it out to your friends and family. It'll be on Spotify. Send that out. Get people familiar with the name Corbin Sabol so that when they see him on the ballot, he's not just I don't know who he is, but they actually know, oh, I've heard of him. I've seen him. My friend told me about him. He was at my church. He showed up to whatever Rotary Club it was. That's a way that we can affect change that's very practical. And that's, it's Civics 101. It's us doing what we're supposed to do if we're not running for office. So that's just an encouragement. If you love Corbin like we do, and if you're in his district, and if you want the petty tyrants the heck out of office, then freaking get involved. Stop being quiet. Stop twiddling your thumbs. Stop just sitting back, praying and thinking that that's all that you do. You actually have to take action steps as well. And those are practical ways that you can take action steps that will transpose change.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Beautifully said, Britt. Well,
Brett.
Corbin Sabol, Assembly District 79, corbinsabol.com. Please check him out there. I think that's a wrap for this one, guys.
Cool.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Freedom Revival on Instagram. If you guys would like to be up to date as to what we're doing with the Freedom Revival, upcoming events, the next Candidate Connect, please follow Freedom Revival Events on Instagram. We are on freedomrevival.org. There you can find some updates as to what we're doing, and we look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Corbin, for being with us.
All right, bless you guys.
Bye.
All right. Good night.